Hello, welcome to Skeindeer Knits. My name is Ellie and this is Cassie, and she's a Norwegian dog living in Norway and I'm usually a Norwegian living in London whilst also knitting, but we are both in Norway right now because I am home for Christmas and Cassie's just too old to live with me in London. She's my baby. Anyway, you can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Skeindeer, and you can find me on the Skeindeer Knits Ravelry group where all the knit-alongs are going on, and it's a lot of fun and it's just a really good group with a lot of just awesome community where, you know, if I can't answer your question quick enough then someone else sure will, so it's a good place to be and I encourage everyone to join. And speaking of knit-alongs, there are a number of knit-alongs both closing and opening as of right now. I have just closed the Julekveld mystery knit-along and I have also closed the Selbu Mitten Club for 2017. Just with a heavy heart that I had to, but you know, everything has an end, it has a deadline, and that is done. And so I just keep looking down at my dog. Let's see her again. Isn't she cute? Oh god, get to the point, Ellie. So what I was gonna say is thank you all so much for just supporting me for the whole club and for having so much fun with it and all the kind things that everybody has been saying. And my brain is dead today. I might as well tell you up front, just not quite there today, but we can go with it. And yes, so I am a bit sort of sad that the old club is over and done with, but there is really, but I've had a lot of fun with it and hopefully you have had as well. Now as for that and the Julekveld mystery knit-along, which is the other club, not club, knit-along that have finished, I will be drawing winners for that and they will get prizes, but because I am in Norway and I will be here until another week or so, I will not be able to draw winners because I don't know how many prizes I have because they are in London. So I'd have to count those over first before I decide whether to draw just one winner or a few winners. I don't know what she's doing. Same goes for the Julekveld mystery knit-along. And the other thing is that I won't be able to ship them out because I am going to New York in a bit, so I just want to give everyone a heads up that these things will happen. They're just not going to happen as soon as I would like to. So just stay tuned. I mean, if you are in the draw for any of these things, you know, you had finished objects and the finished objects threads, and you are like, I don't know if I can keep up with this until forever. So what episode are you going to announce it? Well, probably sometime during January is pretty much what I can promise you. I don't think it will be delayed as far as February because I will be back in January in London mid-January. I will be buried under a pile of exams to mark, but I will probably hopefully be able to both draw winners and send out prizes, so I'm just aiming for a January video for that. As for other knit-alongs, I have started a knit-along and I'm currently running a knit-along. The knit-along that I'm running is the Marius knit-along, and the other knit-along that I'm now running that I just started the 1st of January is the 2018 year-long knit-along, which is just going to be so much fun. All the rules are listed on Ravelry, but I thought I would cover them very quickly right now. So here we go, technology is in place. The first rule is that it has to be a minimum of 6 pairs of finished mittens of 2018. 6 pairs, that is 1 mitten a month on average. It has to be color work, we'll get back to that. No pre-2018 whips, all pairs need to be finished within 2018. So what I mean is no stitches on the needles from prior to 2018. If it's a project that you had to throw back and do again, that's fine, but it can't be anything that you've knitted before then, okay? So I am allowing fingerless mitts, but they need to be equivalent to full mittens. So what I mean by that is that they can't just be like from wrist to your fingers and be just a very sort of small piece of work. Given that I'm also allowing for the weights and stuff, it could easily become a bit of a loophole for people to make 6 pairs very quickly. I want people to be fully engaged in this, so it has to be equivalent to a full mitten somehow. Maybe you want to make them convertible, maybe you want to have a longer cuff, just something that makes them equal to a mitten so that it's fair to everyone who chooses to do mittens or mitts or what have you. I only want to see adult size wearable mittens, so I'm not going to allow for ornaments, nor baby mittens or otherwise shortcut mittens, so kind of touching on what I just said. I will of course allow, you know, child size mittens if you happen to have child size hands or something like that. Like, that's fine. We're going by common sense, okay? For the A4 thread, I want to see all the mittens contained or arranged in some way. So I understand that some people probably won't have all pairs by the end of the year. They may have given them away or something. Try to be creative. I really want you to keep all the mittens for the end of the year and have a chance to photograph them together, but if it's not possible, work something out. Just make it arranged in some kind of way. What I would like to see though is kind of like some kind of, you know, box of mitten or a basket or a, you know, bunting, wall hanging, what have you. Some way of arranging them that is very special to you. You can do kind of, maybe have some kind of traditionally wooden painted box or something, you know. You be creative here. As for the other rules, I will allow for double dipping or triple dipping or what have you. I allow gloves. I mean, gloves is like stepping it up another level, so I mean, go for it. And the color work has to be a substantial part of the mittens and not just a detail. So hopefully that's clear. I didn't give an exact percentage like, oh, it has to be at least 50% or at least 75%. Use common sense. Make sure that it's not a mitten with a colorwork detail, but a colorwork mitten or mitt or glove or what have you. Again, going by common sense, not allowing for any shortcuts. I mean, at the end of the year, or maybe during the year even, I will be running the random number generator, and so the winner will be randomly chosen. But if the random number generator chooses a collection of mittens, and I see like they are all Aran weight mitts that are just like this big and have a minor piece of color work to them, they're pretty much all like that. I'm gonna run the random number generator again, you know. I will be using common sense. I'm just gonna assume that everybody gets what I mean. I mean, this is not super strict, it's very open. I think I kind of gave you the completely wrong idea. It's very open. I want to keep this very open, and I'm gonna go with that, and with the assumption that you are on board with that and that nobody's gonna take any loopholes or shortcuts, that you are kind of with me here. So hopefully that was clear. Of course, as this is the first ever year-long knit-along and it's just January still, it might be subject to change. So if you're seeing this mitten somewhere in the future from now, it would be a good idea to check the Ravelry thread for any changes of the rules or any additional rules or anything like that. I'm just kind of reciting the thread on Ravelry right now where it's all going on. And on top of that, this is very interesting, it's apparently the National Knit Mitten Month. January 2018 is the National Mitten Knitting Month. I didn't know that. Apparently that's the thing. It's going on in the I Knit Mittens group on Ravelry, among other places, and I'm definitely going to join in that. I don't know when I'll have time given all my travels and other knitting I'm trying to finish, but I mean, it's mittens, I have to. So I might crank up another design. I'm waiting for some yarn in the mail that I was going to make designs for, and it's just not getting here and I'm freaking out. Please, yarn, don't be lost. It's very, very special yarn. So a tad bit nervous, but hopefully it's just a bit slow, nothing worse than that. Before getting into finished objects, I just like to remind you all that Bladet Garn, the amazing, one-of-a-kind Norwegian knitting magazines for indie makers of Norway and Scandinavia, are doing a Kickstarter for translating their magazine into English. And I know so many of you watching this podcast, following me on Instagram, have expressed a deep desire to have it translated so that they can read it, and this can only happen if they make the Kickstarter by the 19th of January, and so far they have made, I want to say like 1/7 of the goal, 2/7 of the goal. I'm not quite sure, I don't know maths and numbers and things like that, but you know, they can get there, but they need your help. And I keep thinking, like, if everybody who watched this podcast just donated a couple of pounds each, they would easily make it. So I'm just gonna mention that again, just briefly, just gonna spend some more seconds, just kind of a gentle reminder that that is something that you can support. And like I said, if everybody who watched this did that, it'd be done deal by now, you know. So I'm very excited about this. I think it'd be awesome if this happened. I have actually 3 finished objects, but I can't show you any of them. Wah, wah, wah. So the first finished object, I can show you a photo of the pattern. It is the Midwinter neck warmer, and the reason I don't have a photo of it is because I gave it away for Christmas and I was binding it off as I was having lunch with my friend who I gave it to. Like, I was literally binding it off under the table so that she wouldn't see it in a fairly dark lit place. So there's been no opportunity for me to photograph it, but hopefully there will be one on Saturday when I meet her the last time before I go back to London. But yeah, it's a wonderful pattern, absolutely amazing design. I wish I'd come up with it myself, but dang it, she got ahead of me. It's beautiful. It's fun, it's easy, it's simple, and I knit it in Rauma lamb's wool, the Röros lammull garn, and it's just really nice. It's soft. I mean, again, you know, I talk about the kind of yarn that is suitable for color work, and I do get the odd few, very many messages about how that is so scratchy, I can't wear that, what else, what can I use? And it's like, lamb's wool, guys, lamb's wool, lamb's wool, lamb's wool. So Rauma lamb's wool is one option. Obviously I talk about Holst a lot, Garnutsalg, JC Rennie. It's lamb's wool all around, guys, this, you know. So I use lamb's wool for it, fine thin lamb's wool, and it's wonderful. I hope my friend likes it too. So yeah, hopefully there will be photos of that in the future. As for the other finished objects, I have been taking part in things like the Christmas Eve cast on, where you cast on a pair of socks for Christmas Eve, and can't really show you because it's I just kind of whipped up a design as I was sitting there. Yeah, and then I whipped up another design, and I'm not sure how I'm going to use those designs yet. They're just there, and I've given them away to friends and family, so I don't really have them to show for anyway, but there will be photos, obviously. I've just gotten to make some photos. I just don't know in what context I will publish them yet, so I'm just not going to show them yet, but they will come out and they're done and photographed and ready, and I just need to write on a pattern and have it test knitted and all that jazz. So I just want to know, want you to go. I just want you all to know that something is happening on the design front. It's been a couple of weeks now where we haven't had any new designs, and I'm feeling not quite myself. Do you like the background, by the way? It's our Christmas tree. It's not real, but you know. What I was talking about is the little ornaments, because I got the Arne and Carlos Christmas balls hung up there. Sticking one right behind me. So there. I used to knit these every Christmas for years. I just haven't done it this year, or 2017 I should say, or last year, so it was 2016, which is both when I was doing the podcast. I don't know why that is, but it's not a tradition I've like had you guys take part in me with, because I haven't really done it lately. But you can obviously see that I used to do it a lot, and it's just become a staple in the Christmas decor here in my mum's house. Now that was one elephant in the room. The other elephant is probably what I am wearing. I'm sure you're thinking, isn't that another finished object, Ellie? It's not finished, I'm sorry. This is the Blåfjell sweater. It is a sweater that I am designing, and yes, I'm saying that in the present sense because it's still on the needles. Ha ha ha, gotcha. So I'm still working on it. I'm writing it up as we speak. I'm hoping to have it sent to my tech editor tonight, maybe. I will start calling out for test knitters on Instagram, so please no point in commenting here about that. I will probably already have called out for test knitters on Instagram by the time this episode goes up, unless I have some magical amount of time to edit this episode earlier. But for any like kind of future call for test knitters, I want to say the one thing that matters to a knitting designer is that test knitters are quick. So as a general advice, like, be careful to volunteer for test knitting if you don't think you can finish. The motivation for test knitting should never be, oh, I'd really like to test knit for this designer, that would be so cool. Like, it should be, do you think you can finish? It's just, yeah, it's a deadline knit, and if you're not a deadline knitter, it's not a something that you probably want to do. I have test knitted myself, and it's always been the question I have to ask myself when volunteering, because it is volunteering. You are knitting on a deadline to help someone else. You get a free pattern, but you know, you're just saving a couple of pounds or dollars in exchange for a lot of work. And so you have to kind of want to do it and want to help this designer. It's very nice. It's kind of one of my favorite parts of this community, is that we do this. It kind of makes me think of this Norwegian word that a lot of Norwegians like to talk about, which is dugnad. It's not a pretty word, but dugnad has that kind of sense of community volunteering that you can't really translate. You can even tell by the sound of the word that it's old, and it's just, yeah, it's most commonly used in the context of a neighborhood all coming out to help out clearing for the spring, you know, tidying up everything that the winter has left behind and just shining up the neighborhood. But it can be used in all sorts of contexts, and I think it's a pretty applicable word for the kind of helping out that we do when we help a designer by test knitting and other things that we may or may not do to just kind of support one another. And I think that's pretty cool. So I thought dugnad is the word of the episode. I wasn't really planning on talking about this, it just sprung to my mind. But anyway, Blåfjell is happening. It is a design that I am working on as we speak. It is warm. It is a very warm jumper. I'm using PT2, which is ridiculous because it's the yarn that rumors has it will be discontinued by Rauma. I know, big shame. But the reason is that it's nearly identical to fenil garn, which is more widely available. So you can use fenil garn. It's really not different. Knits up the same way, just doesn't have quite the same colors, but close enough. Like, I got both shade cards hung up on my wall in my London room, and you'll be fine. Like, I wouldn't, you know, don't worry. You can use this design on with so many yarns, anything from PT2, fenil garn, Ask, that kind of thing, to Holst, you know, Spindrift, Garnet Sock, JC Rani, 2-ply Jumper Weight by Jameson Smith, and so on and so on. Any sort of thin-ish 2-ply woolly rustic yarn, that will do. So there is that. This is the jumper. This is how it looks. I am planning on cropping this one, but I'm writing into the pattern how you could do it full length or cropped, and how you just kind of adapt to your shape if you wish to. It's kind of a bit of a recipe. After you're done from here, it's a bit of a recipe. I'm giving you decrease rates and recommended length-ish, but I want you to try it on and see if it fits you. And obviously if you're knitting it for someone else, you're gonna maybe have to borrow them to try on or measure them thoroughly. So it's a bit of a, I'm gonna be as hand-holding as I am always in my patterns, but I just want you to be aware that it gives you a lot of options to fit it to whoever will be wearing the jumper in the end. So I think that's going to be a lot of fun, but you can just do it very easy and just knit it all the way straight down at the recommended length as well. So it's up to you, really. I'm just kind of, oh, when I write patterns I get so nervous. I have these kind of imaginary knitters in mind that are really angry with everything I write, and it's like the worst imagined target audience you could have, but it's also kind of keeping me focused and making sure that what I add to my patterns are sound and reasonable and helpful and not too spoon feeding either, because I hate spoon feeding patterns. I mean, I don't always, but I don't want my patterns to be a disservice. I want my patterns to be not just a pattern but a toolkit for knitting similar types of patterns that may or may not be as helpful. So yeah, writing patterns, you guys. Oh, I'm just so happy that I'm gonna have the support of a tech editor and all this, because I'm so scared of doing a garment with the grading and everything. Although I've done it, I just want to make sure that it's right. Maths. The other kind of work in progress that I am doing right now lives in this fake fringe supply bag. I got some questions when I showed this earlier where they could get bags from this sewist. Guys, it's a fake fringe supply bag. No, she doesn't sell them. That would be plagiarism. If someone wants to make a fake fringe bag to someone, they can totally do that, and that's a nice thing. But if someone's profiting by doing that, then that's not nice, and I will not be promoting that. But she doesn't do that. She just offered to make it for me, and if you can make your own fringe supply bag, then go for it, but you can't sell it. That's not very nice. So I just thought I'd cover that. I'm not gonna, you know. Anyway, the project that I am doing is the Lady Marple cardigan, which is amazing. I've talked about this so many times because it knits itself. Sure, it's been resting in my bag for a long time and not being worked on, but as soon as I pick it up, I'm like, I just did a sleeve. I mean, I haven't finished any sleeves yet, but that's kind of how it works. It knits itself. So anyway, this is what it looks like. Look at that, look at that, look at that. So it's kind of hard to keep this jumper down because it's not really just finished yet. As you will remember, I knit this in a round. It's supposed to be knit flat, but I knit it in a round, and now I have steeked it. So this is the steeking thingies, and I'm so glad I asked my mom to go over it with a sewing machine, because if I hadn't, this would have unraveled completely. This is not the sticky kind of yarn that I prefer to use, that would have stayed in place. This yarn goes all over the place, even though it's non-superwash. So this is kind of why it's good to do a swatch and cut through it if you're unsure. But generally it's the properties of the yarn that makes it stick. So if you know that this yarn doesn't have the kind of properties that makes it stick, just sewing machine, guys, or just sew by hand. That works too. And maybe I should have done that. What I should have done is soak it first, dry it, because this kind of sewing thing here, the seam as it's called, it is very tight. There is no give here lengthwise. That's it could be a problem, because if I compare it to the button band, it's sort of curling up, kind of. It's worse on this side actually. I don't know, kind of looks okay here, but it's not in proportion. So I mean, that's the thing I should have done, but yeah. But yeah, I was doing it in the round, and I also steeked the sleeve hole, so you see there was some fuss here as well. I could sew that down and have it look a bit neat, but it's on the inside. I don't really care. But if you do, you can sew some bands over it. You can even knit a band and sew over it. There are lots of things to do if you care about that kind of thing, but we all know I don't. So this probably shows a bit better what it looked like when I was sticking it, when it was just a steek, I should say. Focus, guys, it's just not happening. So it's all folding and it's just difficult, and it's not collaborating with me. There we are. So I bound off the 4 stitches, I think it was here, or 2, or whatever, here that the pattern called for, and instead of working flat with the front pieces separately and the back piece separately, I just cast on, I think, about 5 stitches or so across, and knit across the armhole again. And I purled it here so that I would know which stitches these were, and my mom go over it with the sewing machine and cut it open, and now it's the armhole. Though actually from this point onwards I did work the cardigan back and forth. So right about here I did that, because that's when you shape the front, and I had no idea how to do that with the steek, because you literally bind off like, what, 5 stitches here, then 3 here, and then it's just 1, and then it's like, I don't know, it's just weird. I wasn't sure how that would work out. So I did work it back and forth from this point up to here. It was still really quick, even though I had to purl quite a bit, so it's just a quick cardio all around. And then I 3 needle bound off the shoulder, and that is all nice and woven in and everything. I do that sometimes. And I've added the neckband and button bands, but I'm not really thrilled with either. The neckband just stands up instead of kind of curves in towards the neck. And the button bands, well, I just mentioned that they do kind of live their own life, and they're a bit, I think maybe I just bound it off too loose, which is usually the opposite of my problems. Sorry, my dog is snoring very loudly. I don't know if you can hear that. And there's also construction work going on outside, because that's always the case in this area. Just, yeah. I'm not sure if I have much else to say about this right now. I've just started a sleeve. It's the old, you know, kind of bottom, top down, short row sleeve. If you've done any Andy Satterlin or, what's her name, Elizabeth Dorothy patterns, then you will know what they're all about. This stitch marker doesn't do anything, just it's there. And I have to say though, the sleeves on this, given the size that I chose the extra large just to get some extra room. The sleeve is still pretty fitted, and I actually have an extra 2 stitches here. I could have had another 2 because of how I just picked them up here. It made sense to have an extra 2 on each side, and I decreased 1 on each side, so I was left with 2 extra, and it's still a pretty tight sleeve for relative to the rest of the size of the cardigan. It's still positive ease, so it's not that tight, but I just thought that would be worth mentioning in case that's something you'd come across as well. And yeah, this is how it is right now. It's already wearable and not that far off until I am done. And I have to say, like, given that I'm already down here with a sleeve and I have 1 sleeve left, I have 2 full balls left, and I bought, I think, 6, possibly 5, I think about 6. I'm not sure how much I'm gonna have left with the last one. I think it's gonna be a lot. We'll see, but yeah, just thought you'd be curious. Given that I'm doing the XL size, I thought that would be more, but I guess not. I am doing the length of the smaller size though, so that could be a reason, obviously. But I have to say, I had a lot of fun when I was picking up button bands and stuff, because it was really adding up to the larger size anyway, given the recommended stitch count, although later I had to go back and redo it, so that was annoying. I had to do it so many times, and in the end I may have ended up with more stitches than I should have done, because it says to knit up 3 out of 4 stitches like per row, which is pretty common, but I wonder if that's too many. Anyway, thinking out loud, in case you are planning on doing this cardigan as well, which I highly recommend. And I think that's all I'm going to say about it for now. We will see this again for sure. But yeah, I just want to say I'm using the Gilead yarn by these guys. Let's see that. Yeah, you can see that. And lives in my fake French supply bag, which is, I think I just saw this fabric on IKEA actually. So, you know, that is one step closer to making your own, I suppose. I'm just going to sit down because I'm sitting on my feet right now and they are just dying under the sheer weight of my Christmas body. Now, I was running a giveaway for the Santa Lucia socks by Anna of Yarnesty, and well, it's about time we draw a winner. That giveaway was open for a long time, where I asked you to post photos of patterns that you want to knit this year. And obviously when I say post photos, I am very much aware that they are not your photos. You need to link to like the pattern and make sure that you credit them, which everybody did, and it was lovely and awesome, and I am now ready to draw a winner. So we had 46 entries, and I'm running the random number generator live for once. I usually like to plan these things, but I don't always plan, so I got the number 26, which is heyKerrianne, who posted this amazing cowl by Pia Kammerborn of the Kammerbornia podcast. So congratulations, please do get back to me about winning this sock pattern by Anna. I am sorry this didn't get to you by Christmas. It is a Christmas sock, but you know what? Christmas comes around every year. So congratulations. I think I'm going to be knitting that sock as well. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm doing the whole like 24 pairs of Christmas socks that Amy of the Stranded podcast is doing, but I do have a lot of Christmas socks in the works, or yarn bought and things like that, so I might be doing a few at least. I do like festive looking socks and just like looking like I wear Christmas stockings all the time. Did you hear that? That's the fridge again. I swear someone lives in that fridge. It's very talkative. But yes, that was heyKerrianne, in case I didn't say that clearly. So now I'm gonna jump to acquisitions, because there are some pretty much every episode now, but now more than anything because Christmas just happened. And that reminds me, I didn't really get all the Christmas presents that are knitting related, so just hang in there, I'll get them. So there we are, I am back, and that means I need to improvise this acquisition, because I've only written up the post-Christmas acquisitions, but there are Christmas acquisitions as well. Oh god, this episode is going to take longer than I thought, because I'm going to like list all the stuff I want to knit this year, and like resolutions, and now it's just going to be all acquisitions again, because I have problems. Anyway, this is Christmas presents all in a Loop bag, which can only mean good things. Does not mean that I got everything from Loop. It just means that my sister shopped at Loop for me for Christmas. Another thing she got me was this Christmas jumper, so you know, that's a nice one. I didn't actually use it this Christmas though, so next Christmas. I got a marzipan pig because that's the thing we do here in Norway. And this is what my sister got me. Okay, wait for it, wait for it. I got the Stash of One Zone book. A Stash of One Zone by Clara Parks, which is a essay collection by lots of people. Susan B. Anderson, Rachel Atkinson's, Amy Christoffers, and so on and so on. It's a lot of people, lots of awesome people writing about stash. And it has a kind of a, you know, a nice angle to it, is all I'm gonna say. It's right up my alley. So that's a book I got, and I will be enjoying this so much. She also got me these 3 skeins of Spindrift, because Spindrift. She got some really good advice though. She ended up going to Lopi when I was just down at work. It's not that far away, which is scary given my addictions. And she just went in there and kind of described me and said that, you know, I need to buy something for my sister for Christmas. She said this was a good place, that she likes this yarn shop, and this is the kind of thing that she knits. And she just described me in terms of like mitten knitting. And turns out Jane was at work and she was like, is that Ellie? And so yeah, she had very good guidance, and I think there's no coincidence why she got the Christmas present really nicely done, given that we don't live in the same country. So I wouldn't blame her if it was a bit off, but it was just right up my alley. So thank you, sister, and thank you, Jane, for helping her out. That was really nice. And also like a clash of two worlds, because like my London life, my London knitting life, and my family life never ever meets, so that was something. My aunt got me these kind of moth repellent things. I keep them in a bag because they smell. That's kind of how you keep moths away, so that's the thing I got. I got a bunch of books. I think that's the only thing that's left in this bag actually. So I'll start with the one I opened first, which is this book, which is hilarious. I don't know if I'm ever gonna knit from it, but it's a collection of the Olympics sweaters. So every time Norway's in the Winter Olympics, they get a sweater design. I think they're always made by Dale Design, and this is all of them from 1956 to 2018. And the first sweater is actually the Cortina sweater. Let's see if I can find it. There we are. And this is a long and complicated story about how Dale and Sandnes have just kind of continuously ripped each other off. I know, controversial thing of me to say. I have covered this before, and I might do it again in the future, given that we are doing a Marius knit along, and the Cortina is suspiciously similar. It's funny now, like I think everybody's settled and it's alright, but yeah, that's the story. But yeah, I got this book from my uncle on recommendation from my mum, I think, because I told her when we were going through shops before Christmas that this book would be hilarious to get, even though I don't think I'll knit from it, and I didn't expect to actually get it. I might knit from it, like there are a lot of really good designs. I think this one is really cool because it's like a Marius take on the Voss sweater or cardigan. So I don't know if you heard about the Voss cardigan. It is beautiful. I want it so bad, but I don't know, it will happen someday, one day. And then I got this book twice. I got it once from my mum and once from my friend who got the Midwinter neck warmer. I'm not sure if this amazing book compares to making just a neck warmer, but hopefully it did. I mean, she got a coffee mug and some snacks as well, but yeah. So this is the book I got from a friend, and then my mum cancelled that book, and I think, I don't know, she just cancelled it. And yeah, I got this, and it's just amazing. It's basically based on this kind of wood carving. So it's a bunch of colourwork cardigans, aka kofte, krotekofte. The wood carving pattern is called kroting. I'm not sure, I don't really know much about this. Kritkroking, kritkroting. I need to read up on this, but here's an idea of the kind of things that you can get in here. There is also a nice little overview in the book, so that's something. There we are. So I'm going to show you the first page like that, and the second page if I can see myself so I can know what we're looking at. So yeah, it's just a very kind of the best of what you can get in Norwegian knitting books. It's just full of proper patterns. It's not like you get 3 garments and just a couple of other things, you know. You get 21 colorwork cardigans. It's pretty hardcore, and I just love it. I love everything here. I look forward to just reading through this book, and it's just great. I hope I'll have time to talk about this more in the future and maybe like review it or something. If you'd be interested, let me know. because right now I need to cut things a bit short to get a lot of things to cover. The last book in this bag is one I got from my mum, which is Sokker from all over Norway. You may recognize the style of this book because it looks a lot like the Mittens from Norway, which is because it's from the same author, and it's kind of following the same principle of designing socks based on old sock designs from all over Norway and redesigns and that kind of thing. So all designed by Nina Granlund-Sæther, who you can find on Instagram, and just full of socks. Now I have to say, a lot of the socks in here I think are quite out there. I expected a lot more traditional looking stuff, but the yarn and colors chosen are really quite a new take on old traditional stuff. So I think maybe if I knit them, I might do more traditional take on them again. This is an example of what you can get in this book. This is Nina in the middle here. I'm just gonna have a lot of fun with this book. Although my own designing stuff might get in the way, that's one of the sad things about designing, also one of the good things. It covers heels a lot. There's a lot of different heels and stuff like that covered here, and that is awesome. I'm trying to see if there are any socks I can show you without spoiling anything. Like, here's a pair of socks. They are amazing. Let's see if I can get one of those socks that are a bit out there, like these. So hopefully you get the idea. This was on top of my Christmas wish list for sure. Not that I actually write a wish list anymore. I think it was the first year I didn't. As for other acquisitions, I almost forgot to show you this booklet magazine that I was sent from the same person who sent me all those lovely Icelandic yarns, which is a book on Lopi sweaters. It's number 37, so I guess they must be churning out these sweaters quite a lot. So I think there is a gallery kind of photo of all the sweaters in here. And there we are. So this should get you a pretty good idea of all the garments in here. And I am so lucky to have all of this. Though there's a bit of a problem. I don't know Icelandic, but that's fine because it comes with this amazing kind of translation piece. So I get a lot of terminology translated. And given that the grammar of Icelandic and Norwegian is quite similar, and if I can work out the words, I should be alright. I think we write patterns in a very similar way as well, so I don't foresee that I'm gonna have a lot of problems. So I think I'll be alright trying to guesswork this thing if I choose to knit from it, which I think we can get back to in my resolutions thing. So another thing I bought myself is this knitting journal. Again, I whisked through this just before recording, and I realized maybe I shouldn't have bought it. For me, it's a really good book, but it really covers the exact same purpose as Ravelry. So if you already use Ravelry, you don't really need it. But if you don't use Ravelry and you really find you enjoy this book throughout the year, do consider hopping on Ravelry, because Ravelry is awesome and you basically get to do all this stuff but sharing it with the world. So it's really good. I'm gonna use it and we'll see how it goes. It does also come with this really neat kind of overview of the most commonly used and popular Norwegian yarns like this, and say which of them are comparable in terms of gauge from the different companies. My only issue here is that it only covers the companies I don't really care for. Dale Garn, I just said, you know, they left Norway, they were bought by an international company, they are produced abroad, they are not using Norwegian fleece. They're machine knitted sweaters and they are kind of overpriced relative to handmade sweaters even, and it's just not Norwegian anymore. It used to be this amazing kind of source of work and even culture in the area of Dale, Norway, and now it's just kind of gone, which is sad. And then we got the Store alpaca, which I don't care for because they're alpaca. We got drops, which I don't use because I always used to, so it's a bit boring to use it again. I also don't use it because they rip off indie designers, and I also don't use them because they make some really harsh demands on the people that choose to stock their yarns in their shops. Then we got Sunless yarn, which I both like and don't like. I don't kind of like how they do defend their copyright sometimes, because it's very strict. I do think, you know, copyrighting knitting patterns is important, but I have some thoughts here. I can talk about another time. But also they have a very vague guarantee of whether the yarn is Norwegian or not. They just say like, oh, this percentage of our fleece is Norwegian, and I'm like, okay. So Peer Gynt is Norwegian. I really like Peer Gynt, and it's made in Norway, and it's Norwegian fleece. That's good. And I think Tove is as well, and then Fritidsgarn, and they are my three favorites. And the other yarns of theirs I don't really use. So But yeah, those are the 4 companies that this book covers. It's a bit of a digression really, and I really like this. Ravelry should do this. This is a list of yarn, needle size and gauge. So you can just write down the gauge you get for different yarns and different needle sizes and have an overview for yourself, which I think is brilliant. More should do that. I think there should be extra columns for what kind of texture you're working, if you're doing stockinette or color work, that kind of thing. But you can just fit that in there anyway. So this book I think is pretty good. But it does cover pretty much what Ravelry already covers for me. But I just thought I'd try something different. I usually just use a regular notebook, but I'm not going to call it bullet journaling because it's a hot mess. But I thought I'd just step it up a bit this time and try this knitting journal. The other thing I got from one of my friends is this knitting calendar by Bitta Mikkelborg. She releases a book like this every year, which is, I think it has 12 patterns that you can knit throughout the year, but it also comes with a diary. It's just like any other journal, but you can write it knitting specifically. And the patterns are really nice, like these socks. Oh my god, why do people have so great ideas and I didn't have them before them? And these matching mittens, I mean, they're gorgeous. And no, I'm sorry, this is in Norwegian only. If you want this in English, you're gonna have to talk to the publisher or the designer. I can't help you, but I wish it was in English though. Dude, I hear you. So there's that. The last book I got was, and I don't know how to bring all this to London. I have to take them in turns. But yeah, I got this vintage knitting book from my friend Christy, who you will have seen. She works from a publishing agent now, so she got this book from there, which is like a vintage book, vintage knitwear for modern knitters, and it's just full of vintage knits. I can't say vintage this year. Oh my god, it's gonna last all year. Today, that's what I tried to say. I haven't looked through this in detail yet, so I think I'm just gonna cover that very briefly and saying thank you, Christy, because I think that was really exciting, because I have been talking a lot about getting into vintage knits and I want to. I got yarn for it. It could happen. Now, as for yarns, I have bought some PT5 yarn again, because I have been knitting it up very quickly. So I got 2 of this grey and 2 of this red burgundy kind of thing. It's more red than burgundy maybe. So I think more socks will happen. And I got this amazing skein. Do you recognize this? I didn't recognize it initially. I got this from Patricia of Knitography. We met up and had a bit of a knitting morning 2-day in Trondheim with a bunch of other knitters, which was amazing and really lovely. And I hope to see them again sometime. I had a good time even though I was knackered. So she gave me this skein, and it is the Mind the Gap yarn. Is it Snoring Dog? I can't really tell her not to snore. So yeah, she gave me that yarn, which is like, I don't think this yarn is being produced anymore by Trailing Clouds. This is Patricia's little pin. She's a bit more forward thinking than I am. She's got a pin, a button, or whatever you want to call it. So yeah, I don't know what to say. This yarn is rare and precious and London themed, and so yeah, I should explain what it is. It is, each stripe represents a line on the London tube, because they are color coded. So you know, you got the Victorian line here, the Piccadilly line, Central line, Circle line, Bakerloo, what have you. You know, it's all contained here, so that gets me really excited. I'm gonna save it for a bit because I just want to get really good at my vanilla socks before I have a go at this, because it might be my only opportunity, you know. So, but I think I'm getting the hang of it. Now the last, well, not the last, but the major yarn acquisition of this week is driving me a bit nuts, because I managed to get these skeins. Oh, control yourself, Addy. These are from one of the 2 micro spinneries in Norway, Selbu Spinneri, and this is their KRUS yarn, which has been especially made to make, wait for it, Selbu mittens. Oh, they are not cheap. Let me just tell you, they're not cheap, but they're worth it, and they're amazing. And okay, so this is the natural black blæset sew, which is kind of brown, really. It's got 310 meters per 100 grams, as does this, and so Norwegian white sheep. They come in separate breeds, the Norwegian white sheep, but they've just kind of been merged into one in terms of how we talk about them. Like they're maybe like through 3 or 4 breeds, but we just say Norwegian white sheep. So I'm gonna make some badass, authentic Norwegian Selbu mittens. I might choose a design from the book, or when I say the book, there's one book only. There's the Anne Bårdsgaard book. There are other Selbu mitten or Selbu knitting books, but the one by Anne Bårdsgaard is the one and only for me. I like the other ones too, but in terms of authenticity, the one by Anne Bårdsgaard. And yeah, so I could go on and on and on about this. It feels great. I mean, it's proper rustic, but I'm not bothered by any scratchiness, so I want to say it's right about average there. And it's 2-plied woolen spun rustic. Let's just have a close-up before I put them away, because I could rant about these forever, but there is no time. I also went to a fabric shop with my mum. She bought a bunch of fabrics because she said she would be able to sew me 1 project bag. I was like, well, you could make me 5. So I mean, I was a bit reckless, sorry, but you know, once you get going, you want to make 5 bags, right? I might just teach myself how to do that. We'll see. Anyway, I got 1 skein from Stoff Stil. I have a few already, as you will have seen from one of my summer episodes. But yeah, I got this kind of grello. It's yellow, but it's very ugly. So, I mean, I like ugly yellow. And yeah, that's that. It's just very, very thin. It's got like 350 meters on this 50-gram ball, which I find quite surprising. I would have estimated more like maybe 200 grams or something like that. So I really like this, and it's amazingly soft and affordable, and just, yeah, love this. And the other thing I got from that shop is these 2 knitting patterns. It's not obvious that they are knitting patterns except for these little knitting needles up here, and this is all I know about them. What's written here in the pictures, the drawings I should say, of the Selbu mittens and socks and this shawl, which is apparently huge. So it's kind of like a bit of a mystery in it, although obviously I know roughly what they will look like, but I just thought that was really fun, and they just had lots of patterns this way. The only ones you could see were the ones that had actual samples in the shop. There are no photos of these, so that's going to be fun to try if I ever get around to it. So yes, it turns out this episode has run on for long enough as well, so I'll be making another separate video where I'm going to talk about my future goals and plans for knitting in 2018. So I want to say thank you all so much for watching as ever. It's just been a treat, and this whole year I'll be wrapping that more up, I think, in that bonus episode where I'm going to talk about my plans for the coming year. But yeah, just happy mitten knitting and otherwise knitting, and I will catch you soon. Bye.